narco-terrorism in South and Latin America and how it impacts the United States. There are many definitions for narco-terrorism. For the purpose of this presentation, we will address the most recognized one, which is narco-terrorism as the financing of terrorist activities by participation in the drug trade. Relating to the topic of narco-terrorism and its effects on the United States, the Drug Enforcement Agency has formed their own structured thought as to the overall involvement and cornerstone in this illicit industry. Latin America is generally seen as the birthplace of ideological terrorism, with terrorist factions being termed as indigenous terrorists. For the purpose of this presentation, we will focus more solely on the more renowned narco-terrorist groups and those with the most effect in history. Mexico contains many drug cartels. When combined, these formed an unofficially termed narco-states. Illustrated here are some of the more common Colombian narco-terrorist groups. The National Liberation Army was founded in 1963 in hopes of emulating Fidel Castro's communist revolution. The National Liberation Army is currently still in operation and is today listed as an official narco-terrorist group. The United Self-Defense Groups of Colombia, also known as the AUC, was founded initially not as a narco-terrorist group. However, their earnings over time and their financial gains have caused them to become listed as such. The Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, also known as the FARC, are undoubtedly the most renowned narco-terrorist group. They were formed in 1965, bringing together communist militants and peasant self-defense groups. They are currently one of the largest recorded narco-terrorist groups. Evidence of the FARC influence is seen in everyday life in Colombia by the presence of FARC soldiers. The Shining Path of Peru is traditionally recorded as a religious fundamentalist group. However, throughout the years, due to their connections within the narco-terrorist trade, they have evolved into a noted narco-terrorist groups. The effects of terrorism has a global reaching property, but once again, for the purpose of this presentation, we'll focus on its effect on our own home soil in the United States. Effects of narco-terrorism in the United States include such things as increases in drug use, increase in drug-related criminal incidents, rise in the number of deaths from drug use, numerous border security issues, and a growingly increased financial burden for our military forces. To name but a few typically grown products that are more commonly found in the narco-terrorist trade are marijuana, cocaine, and heroin. Marijuana can be found consumed in many parts of the United States by individuals of all different classes and social standings. Cocaine is more commonly seen as a high-class product, but however, now it is more readily available to any member of society in the United States. Heroin is the primary staple of most narco groups in Latin America, and is shipped not only through the United States, but to various parts of the United States, and this is a large scale rivaling that of cocaine. Crime prevention methods and thoughts by security forces have in most cases become obsolete, thus leading to a rapid increase in drug-related crimes. The lives of Americans each year are placed in jeopardy and lost through exposure to the products and effects of the narco-terrorist industry. It is greatly recognized that the threat posed to the border security through financial and physical influence of the narco-terrorist factions. Due to this rising activity of the narco-terrorist factions, governments internationally, more especially the United States, are forced with a supply and demand percentile factor, thus having to invest more in combat strategies, policy, and drug use programs. In conclusion, this presentation has shown the far-reaching expanses possessed by these narco-terrorist factions, utilizing physical prowess, force, and financial power, and to infiltrate, exploit, and thus condemn and doom citizens, security forces, policymakers, and government officials for their illicit trade. Information on these slides was taken from the following website, and additional information can also be found in the following